Now, ladies and gentlemen, a conversation has been ongoing for the last one week on the possible collapse of the united opposition. Today, the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has held a sit-down interview with KTN that led to actually unfolding the whole situation within the united opposition that has currently been ongoing for the last one week since the return of the former President Uhuru Kenyatta in the political scene of the Republic of Kenya. Now, many, more so those in the government of the day, expected that Gachagua would go bare knuckles with Uhuru Kenyatta. I mean, blame Uhuru Kenyatta and call out Uhuru Kenyatta for fronting Jubilee Party in the Mount Kenya region and actually reviving the party and fronting Fred Matiangi as their possible presidential candidate come the year 2027. But one thing that you have to realize with Gachagua is a man that is currently evolving in the politics of the day. He is currently evolving in the politics of the Republic of Kenya. Now, Gachagua has opened a can of worms on how, since the Jubilee NDC that happened last week, the state and through the National Intelligence Service has been trying to sell a narrative of the possible fallout between him and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Gachagua has defended Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, where he has accorded the respect to the former president and also the leader of the Mount Kenya region as a man of integrity, that he is not going to fight with him. Because Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta exited the national politics. He served his 2 terms as the president of the Republic of Kenya, which means Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta does not need to be elected again. Apart from that, Rigathi Gachagua went ahead to speak on the matter's current evolving disagreement within the Jubilee Party. Now, Gachagua has defended Matiangi on his part. In his interview on KTN, where people expected him to call out Matiangi and leave out Matiangi on the possibility of being even a presidential flag bearer for the united opposition, Gachagua has retraced his steps and said that Matiangi is a leader that is currently in the united opposition, and anything that has been sold out to the public by the National Intelligence Service should be taken as mere propaganda to try and find a way of destroying the united opposition. He has also turned this card to a way that we can all look at it in another dimension. Remember, a few months ago, there was certain leaks that were made by State House propagandist Dennis Itumbi, who claimed that Kalonzo Musyoka had held a late night meeting with President William Ruto in State House, where Kalonzo had cracked a deal with William Ruto. But Gachagua tells us the reason why they cannot buy out Kalonzo Musyoka is because Kalonzo Musyoka, every moment that the State House approaches him or sends emissaries to Kalonzo Musyoka to try and change him to join the government, Kalonzo Musyoka makes sure that he lets the united opposition know that people had been sent. Now, he is telling us the same thing has been happening with Matiangi, where emissaries are being sent to Matiangi to try and flip him to join the Kenya Kwanza administration or to become a mole inside the united opposition. But Matiangi has also been giving out the said intel to the united opposition, informing them of how he is being approached on and how they are trying to actually recruit him to the bandwagon of making sure that William Ruto maintains his presidency before 2027. Now, allow us to diverge into this. We can all see that William Ruto, when he returned back to the country, remember when the NDC of Jubilee happened, Ruto was actually in the United States where he was attending the United Nations General Assembly meeting. Now, when he returned, he realized that his people, including the current DP, Kithure Kindiki, had started attacking Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta on his sentiment that he had made during the Jubilee NDC. Oscar Sudi, Aaron Cheruiyot, Kimani Ichung'wah, all had gone out to defend the current regime and terming the policies of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta as nonsensical. But when William Ruto came in, he tried flipping the card by defending Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Are we together? Now that was a possibility that a window that William Ruto saw to defend Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, so that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta said candidate for Jubilee, Fred Matiangi, would also be affiliated with the state. Are we together? Now that is the reason why William Ruto was defending Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. But the truth behold that is that Matiangi has rejected every offer given to him by the state. On the other hand, GACHAGUA tells us that moles have been planted within the united opposition. And those moles, more so, he has pointed perfectly to individuals. And I will go, I will point out without fear of contradiction. GACHAGUA has pointed out the Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah KIONI as a mole of the the NIS, and he is under the payroll of the state. And that is why GACHAGUA says Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Fred Matiangi don't even get into the picture of the united opposition. They don't get into the picture of being state projects, because actually they are actually in good terms with the united opposition. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, on his part, he says whether Kalonzo or Matiangi becomes the flag bearer, it's a win for him, because as you know, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Kalonzo Musyoka have been long-time friends. Remember, about 4 or 5 months ago, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta attended the wedding of Kalonzo Musyoka's daughter. Same, Matiangi attended the said wedding. So there is no way Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta wishes that if it's Kalonzo and not Matiangi, that he does not wish to support the united opposition. That is what Rigathi Gachagua tells us. So every other notion being sold by Jeremiah KIONI should be taken as state-sponsored propaganda for KIONI to actually be able to cash out on it. Another person that GACHAGUA has pointed out is Wamuchomba. And more so, he has spoken about the Third Force Alliance that was being formed. The Third Force Alliance that was being formed, according to GACHAGUA, it was funded by the state. The Kenya Moja Alliance that had started carrying out development projects, economic empowerment projects all over the country to replace Kithure Kindiki, GACHAGUA tells us that this move, people like Sifuna and Babu Owino were brought into it not knowing that Wamuchomba is state-sponsored, because Rigathi Gachagua and the united opposition kicked her out of their inner circles. So she went to Kimani Ichung'wah and joined hands together. But Kimani Ichung'wah himself was confused, and he couldn't hide a secret. God, struck him and made him expose their dealings with Wamuchomba publicly. And I dare say, as GACHAGUA said, since the said exposure that Wamuchomba was a state-sponsored project, have you seen the Kenya Moja or the Third Force Alliance continue with their economic empowerment program that they had started doing in different parts of the country? No. Reason being, Kenyans read between the lines, and this led to the collapse of the said Third Force Alliance. Now, Wamuchomba is trying to form a fight or brew a certain difference between the Kiambu people and Nyeri people through online banters, where she recently defended Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, saying that Uhuru is actually somebody that has the authority to do anything that he wants. But Wamuchomba was not defending Uhuru. She was defending herself, trying to make a point and trying to become of relevance to the state. Are we together? Yes, and that is what Rigathi Gachagua as of today unveiled in matters the division between, inside the united opposition. And actually, we read between the lines. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what's up. Tell me what you think about this analysis. Leave a comment on the comment section. See you in our next video. This is the Kenyan Daily Report.